Good morning, everyone. I am John O'Loughlin. Welcome to my channel. It's called McDuff_2020. And wow, what a 2020 we are having, huh? This is very, very difficult for me to come back from trying to relax for a week on vacation down at Mystery Beach. To get back up to speed quickly, and I've seen so many great videos already that I've come back to. Before I go any further, let me cite in particular this wonderful new channel, which is done by our very own Peter Duke and Tracy Connors, and they snagged an interview with Lee Stranahan yesterday, which I think is the very, very tip of our intelligence on what's going on really with Sidney Powell. So I can't recommend it highly enough. Join their station on YouTube. It's called The Reality Operating System. And they have 251 subscribers now, so you have a chance to be part of the first 1,000 and get them up to that 1,000 mark so that all the great things can happen from there. It's an excellent interview with one of the great journalists of our time, Lee Stranahan. So thank you, Peter and Tracy, for your hard work to put that together, and your channel is going to grow very fast with a high quality like that. So congratulations, and I look forward to more. Let's say good morning to everyone over here on McDuff channel. McDuff Mindfields, episode 92, Veritas. Veritas. Why did I choose Veritas? Gary, I started to watch it. I was there. Hi, Gary Waitman. And Gary, you're like me. You want to see them all, don't you? But I can't. I appreciate people's willingness to summarize things for me. But I guess the bottom line from that, the lawyer was show me the evidence, just the same as Tucker Carlson and a number of other people are saying. Good morning, Nancy. Good morning, Mom with Bulldogs. That sounds good. Jacqueline and Linda. Cow, you're gonna get real. 11:23. All right. Okay, well, let's do this.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society. And we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it.
Well, that's President Kennedy, and you know what today is. And today, to honor him, I will speak about Veritas, the truth. And of course, that's a Latin word. It just means truth. Well, Stephanie Burns, you've got the answer, and I understand the irony of ha ha in your comment, because one does not expect the truth from Harvard University in this day and age. One expects a bunch of either brainwashed kids or I don't know. I mean, it's all just deep state mumbo jumbo as far as I can tell. It's like they say about NASA, never a straight answer. Well, what the heck is David Keith doing up there at Harvard anyway? He's just there to provide the documentation when they finally reveal what they've been doing to our skies. That's all. And you just sit there and draw a salary until it gets too late for them to conceal it anymore, and they'll have to roll it out and say, "Oh, this is David Keith. He'll tell you all about it." I'm a little angry about it, to tell you the truth. But that's just one thing that I'm angry about. I'm angry about a lot of things. Harvard's motto, indeed, is Veritas. It is a little bit more complicated than that, though, which is why I chose that. Well, I'll tell you, I have in my office behind here a Harvard chair. You know, one of those Windsor wooden chairs painted black with the seal of Harvard College on it. And in the seal, it has three books open, and one of them says VE, and the next one says RI, and the one on the bottom says TAS. And that is the seal of Harvard College. However, did you know that that's not the whole story? The actual logo and the actual motto was Veritas pro Christo et Ecclesia. Truth for Christ and the church. Okay? So when I found that out, I thought, oh, are they concealing something here? Maybe Harvard doesn't really work for the United States any, it's just like we're saying truth, but truth and the church. Well, what church? The Church of England, right? 1630 what? 1636. The Church of England. The head of which, Charles I. The Anglican pseudo possibly a crypto Catholic. We don't know. But it's definitely the royalty, the nobility, the royals, the empire, That church that they're talking about is headed by the monarch of Great Britain. Still is. So is Harvard a branch of the British church? Well, I wonder, because of the way they treated my father and the way that this whole study here has evolved into all of these Harvard people like James Conant, that are a part of these secret weapons developments that are secret from the American people. And now we find, well, how do we know they're not all being turned against the American people now? And why would Harvard do that to the country in which it lives and it's a resident of? And, well, in fairness, I'm going to read this essay written by Anna Kendrick in 2006. It's called Harvard's Secularization. Yeah, right, secularization. Anyway, I'm skeptical, but I want to read it because here's the point. My dad graduated from Harvard under that seal of Veritas, which is on his Harvard chair in the back room there. President John F. Kennedy did the same. They went to a school they thought was the top of the pyramid in the United States for teaching the truth. Veritas. But Harvard does not. Harvard conceals things and cooperates with CIA spooks like the Bundys. Harvard's secularization. Harvard has never been shy about honoring its traditions, from the stained glass windows of Memorial Hall to the bright red bricks that line its storied buildings. The university likes to keep its relics intact. Well, most of them. Ironically, the Crimson Shield, the university's logo and the ostensibly eternal distillation of its identity, has undergone significant change since the university's birth back in 1636. Back then, it wasn't just about Veritas. It was Veritas pro Christo et Ecclesia. Not just truth, but truth for Christ and church. And then she goes on to explain, it used to be Harvard had only one business, training young men for deployment into the ministry. And it wasn't overnight that it transformed into the famously secular research institute university we know today. Rather, the movement gathered momentum gradually, propelled by intellectual leaders who, while using Christianity as an implicit foundation, believed above all in the advancement of scientific and academic knowledge. So, it falls into the hands of these secularists who are basically, I mean, we're talking about the 19th century, that are the ones that I've identified in studying eugenics. These guys are not Christians. They might still have the label Christian on them, but they're not Christians because they don't obey the golden rule. Instead, they want to study science, even if that means performing a little mental operation on a few unwitting people for science. So these people started to play God. By the 19th century, Harvard was undergoing a liberalization of its religious ideas under the influence of the Unitarians, who had come to control Harvard and institutionalized a greater emphasis on reason, morality, humanism, and intellectual freedom. Unitarianism is a much more broad-based, hospitable religion at odds with the old Calvinists. The movement led the way to what eventually became a secularizing process. Well, there you have it. I mean, you go from a Bible-based Calvinist beginning to the Congregationalism, sort of a New England form of Presbyterianism, but still, retaining that holier than thou, we're in the good guys group, the visible church. But then you have the revolution, and then Unitarianism, Joseph B. Priestley comes in, and logic tells them that there's not three parts to God. This Trinity is a bunch of gobbledygook. There's only one God, and it's Unitarian, and So that sets them free from the dogma. And then by the time of Eliot presidency, you basically have achieved a change from what was supposed to be a Calvinist approach to life to the most broad-minded, and I mean embracing all of the Freemasonic ideas and everything that they believed, sadly wrapped around their conceit that somehow they were the chosen people. That somehow, that if they didn't start taking charge of humanity, that humanity was going to get pulled back down into the swamp. And so out of their own concern for us, they decided to destroy us. And that's what eugenics is all about, is if you ain't part of them, as George Carlin said, it's a big club, but you ain't in it. There is a club, but we're not in it. And that's their club. The Dulleses and the Harrimans and the Rockefellers, and it's all ties back to the old British system and the wealth from transportation, shipping, and shipping of anything. Like Lloyd's of London. You know how Lloyd's of London became the greatest insurance or whatever you want to call it in the world is for insuring slave ships. They got the premiums on the insurance for all of the ships that went to take slaves, to take people from Africa and sell them into slavery, perpetual race-based slavery. Because that's the transportation system. Hey, we didn't enslave those people. We just insuring the ships. Okay. That's the way London thinks. Excuse me. So, and thank you, Betsy, and others who have made an excellent um, reference to, and you've obviously been studying my material about McDuff, about my father, because you recognized immediately the importance of assigning all special operations to the Secretary of Defense through the Undersecretary, and this person is somebody that I don't remember his name, but it's somebody that a lot of people have a great confidence in. It's a wonderfully hopeful sign. I haven't watched the dark journalist report on that, but enough people have told me, that about it, including George Webb, whose endorsement I appreciate a great deal, because I had a few goes at the dark journalist thing, and I just couldn't get over the drama, the dark themes and the, I don't know, all black and everything. But I am certainly interested in his work, and I know that he's been at it a long time. So, hat tip to you, dark journalist. Yeah, that's been my story, and that is why this morning I have gotten out my precious, my one of a kind. You'll never see another one of these. Saxa coffee mug, because Saxa is the organization that JFK created in order to take special ops back from the CIA and put them back into the Defense Department, specifically directly under the Joint Chiefs in this office that is literally below the Joint Chiefs office in the 3 levels of the Pentagon. So this is to you, to all of you Ospreys out there, to all of you members of George Webb's Team W and Neighborhood News and Mark Kulak and Bill Taylor and Connie Bevan and Jumping Mouse, God bless you. I mean, David Underdown, what a terrific new voice David is. And Gary, all of you guys, I mean, cheers. Here's to you, and keep up the good work. Rex Raynard, so many people are always after me about Joseph Farrell, but would you somebody tell me why I shouldn't be as scared of somebody that writes a book called Giza Death Star? Because I don't care if it could be a limited hangout, okay? If it's a limited hangout and then you go following all the way down the rabbit holes and then you get to the end and boom, you find out, oh, dang, I've been misled here. You wasted a lot of time. So, I mean, when I see somebody whose book is called The Giza Death Star, I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there. But I've read his book about Monmouth, New Jersey. I've got Babylon Banksters on my shelf. I've got one other of his somewhere, but I just haven't got to it. So anyway, but cheers. And if you have some reason why I should read Giza Death Star, then please tell me. But honestly, I've got so many books in front of that. I've got shelves of books now that I haven't read because I order them. I just ordered 6 more books yesterday, by the way. If anybody wants to support my Patreon, I promise you it all goes right out the door into books. Um, yeah, so that's the answer. Saxa is the answer. That's what George says. That's what Dark Journalist says now. That's what I say is bring it back. Put them under the Joint Chiefs. Put the Joint Chiefs in charge of this stuff instead of basically they turned the Pentagon into a agency for deploying, like a quartermaster corps, for the JSOC. And so the public, 95, 100% of the public thinks that the Joint Chiefs of Staff are running our military, but they're not. They're responding, just like Alan Dulles set it up with his focal points. They're not driving military policy. They are responding to needs of special forces requirements that are coming not from the president, but from the CIA, from the spooks. That's what I learned from reading all these books. Tim, you got my Tim Spencer was at the Great Charrette back last March. When they first did the lockdowns, and we had to limit ourselves to 10 people in the house, but it was a wonderful, very profitable intellectually in terms of research and getting to know people like Addie Ads and uh, and David Underdown at these charrettes, people from all around the country, and even I think we had a man from Japan come to that. Well, anyway, anybody that can answer your question, Kate, I don't know. Will the real Mike Flynn please stand up? That's one of my questions about Sidney Powell is Mike Flynn's interest somehow allied to the interest of President Trump? Because I haven't seen that yet. I think they're two separate cases, and if you're representing Mike Flynn, then you got to do everything you can to get Flynn, out off the hook. Get him a not guilty verdict. Get everything dismissed. And so, is her appearance with the President Trump's team, is that an effort to somehow also serve Mike Flynn? Well, I don't know, but it was off-putting. So let's go back to the new channel called the Reality Operating System, and call attention to the fact that Lee Stranahan himself on that channel questions Sidney Powell's story about whether or not this Venezuelan guy, whose name is Aliaga, but it's not the man that I met, is a different, from a different country, but the same name, Aliaga. Anyway, Mr. Aliaga's story looks to Lee Stranahan to be a CIA concoction, a plant. Now, Charles Ortel on Twitter is quoting the American Thinker page. I think that's AIM, the Douglas Gabriel production, supporting Sidney Powell, saying, yes, this is part of the plan. So it's interesting when we see Charles Ortel on one side and Lee Stranahan on the other side. Anyway, great job, Peter Duke and Tracy Connors, with that great interview yesterday of the great Lee Stranahan. So I was talking about Veritas and Harvard and the old motto, which I don't think they ever said this is not our motto anymore. They just stopped printing all the words of the motto. But and then they say, well, we've become secular now, so that's why we don't put, for Jesus and the church anymore. But there's no official line that said that that's out of our motto. They didn't cut it out, just quit printing it. So there's some kind of possibly deceptive going on here at Harvard that say, remember how I did in one of my Mindfields about 3 weeks ago about the motto of the U.S. Justice Department of pro domina, that here I am to serve Lady Domina, Lady Justice, and the idea of Lady Justice being a different Lady Justice than the traditional Lady Justice that we think of as Americans with the blindfold, because the blindfolded Lady Justice, you see, comes out of the Protestant tradition. The idea that justice is blind is not the idea of classical Lady Justice, which is the London one, the one that's that big gold statue that sits on top of the Old Bailey, and she has a great big sword. It looks like a hermaphrodite to me, has a great big sword, and the scales of justice. And she doesn't wear a blindfold. And that's the difference that I think is very important, because it's allied to the idea of our institutions, like the Justice Department, like Harvard University. Are they servants of the U.S. constitutional form of justice, which is a blind Lady Justice with the hand, the equal scales, and one side has to tip with evidence? Or is this imperial justice, the justice of ancient Rome, the justice of empire, in which, hey, you want justice, come and see me. I'll give you justice, because I know what justice is, because I am the emperor. And I never fail. Just like Charles I on the throne of England in 1636, saying, I rule by divine right. I can't do anything wrong. As Charles II tried for his entire life to prove. No, the imperial justice simply means whatever the guy at the top of the hill says is right. And that is the strength of the wolf, isn't it? So when you take the blindfold off of Lady Justice and put her in the hands of noble people that think they're smarter than everybody else, then you've just lost the idea of American justice under the Constitution, and you've turned us into an imperial colony. And that's where this thing is going if we don't stop it. there's some kind of voodoo going on with Sidney Powell. I'm sorry. I mean, this repeated wearing of the leopard skin, whatever, is intended to convey something. Now, if you want to pursue that further, somebody wrote an essay about it in describing how, this is a strong symbol of somebody who's going to do things that are going to go out and take the world by the, what, and do something, shake it up. And I went back and looked at this video that she made back in 2014 about her experience defending executives in the Enron scandal. And she explained how these prosecutors, the federal prosecutors at the time, of which she had used to be one, well, now she's defending Wall Street executives at Arthur Andersen and Enron, and saying that these prosecutors are just out of control, completely, nuts, out to just go and get some, and they'll find the income tax violation to prove to take the person down by their character, and they're just vicious prosecutors on these accountants and lawyers that worked for Arthur Andersen when Enron unfortunately had its belly up experience. So I just noticed that she has her hair all teased out really big like a lion. So either she's really into this feline power, or there's some kind of a character that she's becoming an icon for, If you think about what we've studied about the icons of history and how people like Jung and would just identify that, there's maybe 12 real characters in history and you find them in different forms, that kind of thing. Is she being set up to portray a certain role? I don't know, but it's just too much for me to just say, okay, she just happens to like, the leopard skin prince. But yeah, I mean, I don't know why Rudy Giuliani let her on the dais with him if she was not part of the team. I mean, he announced at the beginning, we are the Trump team, and she was right there with him. And he named her. And then he realized, who made a mistake here? Rudy did. If it was a mistake to identify her as part of the Trump team, who made that mistake? Rudy Giuliani made that mistake by announcing her as part of the Trump team. That means he wasn't thinking very well. And that bothers me too. Because I tell you, I don't know who's really running this Trump legal team. I don't know why the Attorney General hasn't just whooped ass on these criminals yet. Except for, I have my suspicions. But why does the president have to do this in the first place if the elections were so tainted by fraud and corruption? Then the federal Justice Department should do American justice and not just sit back and see what, Lady Justice of imperial wisdom decides should happen. Well, Rudy represents somebody. He's not just representing Trump, okay? I think, how did Trump get elected in the first place? It wasn't Wall Street. It wasn't Wall Street, but it was some powerful people. Some powerful, powerful people. Okay? And Rudy comes from, a family that knew powerful, powerful people. So he's there, I think, as a as a part of Trump's team, but needs to be very visible so that all of the people that back Trump on his word know that he's still there and working, even though he's very sloppy, you know, standing behind Sidney Powell while she's making the most important speech of her life, you know, fooling around with his water bottle, letting his makeup run. All that could be a sideshow for us, too, to distract us. Because where was Rudy on 9/11? Still hasn't explained it to me or the families or our first responders. And yet, somehow politically he survives. Well, it's the power behind. You know, it's not his sweet disposition. But if they don't deliver for Trump, then I'm going to start thinking that this whole thing has been a psyop on us, because they had both sides covered all along. And the next step is lockdown, Great Reset, Heil Klaus, Heil Klaus Schwab. He'll make sure you don't own anything ever. Won't you be happy? You'll be a happy little communist if you just let Herr Schwab take over instead of trying to do all this democracy. It's so messy. I don't know who Lin Wood is. I've seen this man. He's shown up now, and people say he's great. And you know, and then who's the other one? Sekulow, Jay Sekulow. Good luck. You know, I want to see the president reelected. I want transparency. I want to stop with the bullshit. I want Veritas in the American sense of the word, because that's what we need to set us free. President Kennedy died for us. President Kennedy rode in an open car for us. My dad went back to the Pentagon every day knowing that his days were numbered. For us. Not just me, for you. And for President Trump. And for everybody that loves freedom. President Kennedy died. No more secret societies, Harvard, Yale, Princeton, Dartmouth, Cornell, William and Mary, my alma tomatoes. No more. We have got to have transparency, and we've got to have whatever it is. I don't care what it is, whether it's pedophilia or worse. I don't know what the hell is going on that they use to blackmail people right now, but we are tougher. We can stand it. We can take it, and we can move on. So don't be afraid. Saxa, Tom O'Loughlin, all the great, great military people that have fought for our country. I know your spirits are still with us. I know your spirit will give us the strength to carry on. All right. Have a great day.